Chosen one. There is a truth pressing itself forward now, and it is not subtle anymore. The planetary shift cannot complete without you. This is not flattery, and it is not metaphor. Every large transition requires anchor points, living stabilizers, who can hold frequency while everything else rearranges. You were never meant to watch this era from the sidelines. You were never meant to analyze it from a distance or admire it as a concept. You are part of the mechanism itself. What is unfolding on the planet right now is not just social, political, or technological change. It is a convergence, a recalibration of consciousness, and it requires specific individuals who can remain coherent while systems dissolve. You are one of those individuals, and the call you have been feeling is not optional because your presence is part of the architecture of what comes next. This is where the identity of a starseed must be understood correctly. Starseeds are not observers sent here to comment, predict, or escape. They are anchor points between dimensions, living bridges that allow higher-order coherence to translate into physical reality. An anchor does not float. It does not drift. It holds. It stabilizes. It grounds. And grounding is not glamorous. It is often uncomfortable, lonely, and misunderstood. That is why so many starseeds feel out of place even in their own lives. You carry memory without language, knowing without proof, recognition without explanation. You have always sensed that you were here for more than personal success or survival. Not because you are better, but because you are positioned differently. You are built to hold tension between worlds without fragmenting. This is why your life never fully settled into ordinary rhythms. Restlessness has followed you not because you are ungrateful, but because stagnation is incompatible with your function. The fourth wave is the most subtle and the most important. Mission clarity begins to form not through instruction, but through being. You are not handed a detailed assignment. You are not told what to do in explicit terms. Instead, you notice that simply existing as you are begins to have an effect. People calm down around you. Conversations deepen unexpectedly. Chaos softens in your presence. You are asked for perspective rather than advice. This is how mission reveals itself for starseeds, not through commands, but through impact. Mission clarity does not feel like ambition. It feels like inevitability. You stop asking, "What should I do?" and start noticing what happens when I am fully myself. The answer to that question is your function. You realize that your role is less about action and more about state. Less about fixing and more about stabilizing. This is difficult for minds trained to equate value with productivity, but your value now lies in coherence. When you are aligned, you broadcast alignment. When you are regulated, you regulate space around you. This is not metaphorical. Human nervous systems entrain to one another. Consciousness does the same. This is why your presence now alters environments automatically. You do not need to announce yourself. You do not need to convince or correct. Your internal state sets a tone that others subconsciously respond to. In unstable environments, this can feel uncomfortable. People who rely on chaos may feel exposed or irritated. People who are seeking grounding may feel relief. This is not something to manage or manipulate. It is something to steward. The more neutral and integrated you remain, the cleaner your influence becomes. Awakening waves do not replace one another. They layer. Intolerance may return in new forms. Homesickness may deepen. Synchronicities may come and go. Mission clarity may sharpen gradually. This is not regression, it is integration. Each wave brings remembrance deeper into the body, into behavior, into presence. Awakening is not a peak experience. It is a stabilization process. Chosen one. If your journey has felt messy, inconsistent, or difficult to explain, that is because you are remembering something that was never meant to be linear. You are not failing at awakening. You are embodying it correctly. Your presence is now doing work that effort never could. And as these waves continue to integrate, you will find that you no longer need to search for purpose. Purpose begins to move through you naturally, quietly, and with increasing precision. Chosen One, it is time to clarify your true role, because misunderstanding it is one of the most common ways Starseeds dilute their impact. You were not sent here to perform spirituality, persuade minds, or convince anyone of anything. Your mission is embodiment. That means who you are matters more than what you say, and how you hold yourself matters more than how loudly you speak. Performance seeks reaction. Embodiment creates regulation. Persuasion tries to change people. Embodiment allows change to happen naturally. This is why so much of your training stripped away the need to explain yourself. You were being prepared to operate without justification, to influence without force, and to anchor coherence simply by being present. Embodiment is quiet, and because it is quiet, it is often underestimated. The world is accustomed to transformation through argument, pressure, ideology, and urgency. But those methods belong to collapsing systems. Frequency operates differently. Frequency does not argue, it entrains. When you are coherent internally, others begin to recalibrate around you without effort. Their nervous systems respond before their beliefs do. Their defenses soften without being attacked. Their awareness widens without being instructed. This is why you may notice that people behave differently around you than they do elsewhere. It is not because you are trying to influence them. It is because your internal state provides a reference point their system has been missing. Words are tools, but they are secondary. Frequency is primary. A calm nervous system transmits safety. A coherent presence transmits truth. Integrity transmits permission. When these are embodied, transformation happens beneath language. People may leave a conversation with you unable to repeat what you said, yet feeling clearer, steadier, or more honest with themselves. That is not accidental. That is your function. You are not here to debate reality into changing. You are here to hold a version of reality that others can entrain to when they are ready. This is also why your life demanded so much internal work before any outward recognition appeared. You were not being delayed. You were being stabilized. An unstable anchor is dangerous. If your identity depended on validation, your influence would bend under pressure. If your peace depended on circumstances, your presence would amplify chaos instead of calming it. You were refined so that your internal environment could remain steady regardless of what was happening externally. That steadiness is what allows you to anchor the shift. Now understand this clearly. You are not doing this alone. There is a larger orchestration unfolding, and it does not rely on hierarchy or central control. Starseeds across the planet are awakening simultaneously, not because they are copying one another, but because the frequency they respond to has reached a threshold. Think of it as a network activating at once. Each node is independent, yet synchronized. You may never meet most of the others. You may never know their names, but you will feel the effects. Shared realizations, parallel awakenings, similar themes emerging across different cultures and locations. This is not coincidence. It is coordination without communication. In a network like this, no single node is more important than another. Each anchor holds its local field. Each presence stabilizes its immediate environment. Together, they create a lattice that allows higher coherence to integrate into physical reality without overwhelming it. This is why your role feels both deeply personal and strangely collective. You are responsible for your own embodiment, not for managing the network. The network organizes itself through resonance. Your job is simply to stay coherent. This also reframes what growth means at this stage. You're not here to fix yourself. That narrative belonged to an earlier phase when healing and integration were necessary. Now the focus shifts from repair to expansion. Expansion does not mean becoming more impressive. It means allowing more reality to move through you without distortion. It means widening your capacity to hold complexity, contradiction, and transition without collapsing into fear or judgment. When you expand, reality around you gains permission to expand as well. Many starseeds remain trapped in perpetual self-improvement because they believe they must be perfect before they can contribute. That belief is outdated. Perfection is not required. Coherence is. You are not being asked to eliminate every shadow or resolve every wound. You are being asked to remain present, regulated, and aligned while life unfolds. Your humanity is not a flaw in your mission. It is the interface through which your mission operates. A beacon that denies its humanity becomes unreachable. A beacon that embraces it becomes relatable and trustworthy. Anchoring the shift does not mean withdrawing from the world. It means engaging differently. You listen more than you speak. You observe more than you react. You choose integrity over intensity. In moments of collapse or confusion around you, your steadiness becomes a silent signal that another way of being is possible. People may not thank you for this. They may not even notice consciously, but systems respond. Conversations slow, decisions clarify, emotional storms lose momentum. This is influence without ownership. It is also important to release the idea that you must always be on. Anchors rest. In fact, rest is part of the function. A depleted anchor destabilizes its field. This is why your body has demanded pauses, solitude, and integration time throughout your life. These were not interruptions to your mission. They were maintenance. Frequency requires care. Embodiment requires regulation. You are allowed to step back, to be quiet, to be ordinary. Ordinary moments are not separate from your role. They are where embodiment becomes real. As more starseeds awaken into embodiment, the shift accelerates not through spectacle but through saturation. Coherence becomes more available. Fear loses dominance. Old systems collapse not because they are attacked, but because they can no longer sustain themselves in the presence of stabilized alternatives. You are part of that alternative, not as a savior, not as a leader demanding followers, but as a point of orientation others can sense when they are ready to move. Chosen one anchoring the shift is not about doing more. It is about being truer, not louder but clearer, not perfect but coherent. You are not here to fix yourself endlessly or rescue the world dramatically. You are here to expand what is possible simply by embodying what you already are. And when enough of you do that, simultaneously, reality itself begins to reorganize around a higher standard. That is the work, that is the role, and it is already underway. Chosen one, let this truth settle fully now. You were never meant to find your purpose because you are the purpose. The search itself was part of the forgetting. Purpose is not something waiting outside of you, hidden behind the right method, teacher, or moment. It has been living through you the entire time, expressing itself quietly through your presence, your integrity, your restraint, and your ability to remain coherent in a world that often is not. When the illusion of finding purpose collapses, something simpler and more powerful takes its place. You stop chasing meaning and start embodying it. There is no backup plan for this shift, not because of pressure, but because of precision. Earth's transition requires your frequency exactly as it is refined through your experiences, your sensitivity, and your remembrance. No one else can substitute for the unique configuration you carry. This is not burden, it is alignment. You are not being forced into responsibility. You are being invited into recognition. So make this simple declaration now, quietly or out loud. I remember who I am. I align with why I am here. I allow my presence to serve. Nothing more is required. No striving, no proving. As you hold this intention, know that you are not alone. Others are making the same recognition in this moment. Connection is forming without effort. Intention is aligning without command. Shared recognition is activating the network. You are the plan, and together without spectacle, the shift continues. You have felt recognition in strange moments. Flashes of knowing when something ancient inside you stirred without warning. You may have felt drawn to the sky, to symbols, to patterns, to questions that did not come from curiosity, but from remembrance. These were never coincidences. They were activation signals. Your system has been waking up in stages, responding to frequencies that are now intensifying across the planet. What once came as whispers is becoming a steady pull. What once felt optional now feels unavoidable. Many starseeds mistake this restlessness for dissatisfaction or confusion. They try to fix it with distraction, achievement, or constant movement. But the restlessness is not a problem to solve. It is a signal to respond to. It is your internal system alerting you that the time for dormancy has ended. Recognition is no longer internal only. You are being recognized externally as well, even if subtly. People look at you differently. Conversations shift when you enter a room. You are asked questions you did not volunteer to answer. This is not projection, it is resonance. Your frequency is becoming audible. This is where urgency must be spoken clearly, without panic, but without delay. This is not a future mission. It is happening now. Many are still waiting for a dramatic sign, a public announcement, a perfect moment when everything makes sense. That moment will not come because this kind of activation does not arrive after conditions are ideal. It arrives while conditions are unstable. You are being called not because the world is ready, but because it is not. The collapse of old systems is not a failure of progress. It is the clearing required for new coherence to take hold. And coherence does not install itself automatically. It installs through people who can embody it. This is why you have been trained in pressure, why your nervous system has been tested, why you have learned to remain calm when others spiral, to see clearly when others react, to hold compassion without losing boundaries. These were not personality traits. They were preparations. You were being conditioned to function in instability without becoming unstable yourself. An anchor that panics cannot anchor. A bridge that collapses under weight cannot carry traffic. You were refined so that you could remain steady while others are waking up disoriented. You may have resisted this identity for a long time. Many do. It feels heavy. It feels isolating. It feels like responsibility you did not consciously choose. But understand this, you did choose it, just not in this lifetime's memory. There is recognition in you because there is agreement in you. Something in you responds to this call not with excitement, but with seriousness. That seriousness is confirmation. Fantasy excites. Truth settles. Now is the moment to stop framing your experiences as random and start seeing them as sequential. The loneliness, the restlessness, the repeated endings, the sense of being almost home, but never quite there. These were stages of activation, not failures of belonging. You were being tuned, not punished. And tuning happens gradually because sudden frequency shifts shatter systems that are not ready. You are ready now, not because you feel confident, but because you feel clear. The call you were never meant to ignore is not asking you to abandon your life, disappear into spirituality, or detach from the world. It is asking you to show up fully, consciously, and responsibly right where you are. To anchor coherence in your family, your work, your community, your presence. To speak truth without force. To hold peace without passivity. To remain human without forgetting what you carry. This is how planetary shifts actually complete, not through mass awakening events, but through thousands of anchor points quietly holding the line. If you feel this message landing deeper than thought, that is because it is not reaching your intellect. It is activating memory. And memory once stirred does not go back to sleep. You may feel a subtle pressure now, not fear, but gravity. A sense that waiting is no longer neutral, that delay has weight, that choosing nothing is still a choice. This is not meant to rush you into action. It is meant to align you into presence. Chosen one. The call is not dramatic. It is steady. It is not loud. It is precise. And it has been following you your entire life, growing clearer as the world grows noisier. You were never meant to ignore it, because you were never meant to merely witness this transition. You are part of what allows it to happen. Chosen one, the feeling that you have carried your entire life, the sense of being different, slightly out of phase with the world around you, was never a defect in your design. It was the design. From an early age, you sensed that you were operating on a different internal bandwidth. You could participate in ordinary life, but you could never fully dissolve into it. Conversations often felt shallow. Priorities that motivated others left you cold. Crowds drained you, while solitude restored you. This outsider feeling was not social failure or emotional weakness. It was evidence that your system was tuned to a higher frequency operation. You process more data, more emotion, more subtle information than environments built for survival-level consciousness can comfortably hold. When a high-frequency system is placed in a low-frequency structure, friction is inevitable. That friction is not proof that something is wrong with you. It is proof that you were not designed to blend in. This is why sensitivity has always been one of your most misunderstood traits. You feel deeply, notice shifts quickly, and register undercurrents others miss entirely. For much of your life, this sensitivity may have felt like a burden. Overwhelm came easily. Loud environments, emotional chaos, and dishonesty exhausted you. You may have tried to harden yourself to numb, to adapt by lowering your awareness just to survive. But sensitivity is not fragility. It is a high-resolution sensory system. A starseed nervous system is calibrated to detect coherence and incoherence, truth and distortion, safety and threat at subtle levels. What overwhelms you is not life itself, but noise, contradiction, and misalignment. When your system is placed in aligned conditions, sensitivity becomes clarity, compassion, and precision rather than exhaustion. Disconnection has followed you as well, and this too has been misinterpreted. You may have felt disconnected from social groups, belief systems, career paths, or even from your own sense of identity at times. This disconnection was not apathy or failure to commit. It was an energetic upgrade in progress. When a system is updating, it temporarily disengages from old networks that can no longer support its operating requirements. You were never meant to anchor your identity in roles, labels, or external structures that would eventually collapse. The discomfort of disconnection was your system refusing to attach permanently to what could not evolve with you. Each time you outgrew an identity, a relationship, or a worldview, it felt like loss, but it was actually a shedding process, making room for higher coherence. One of the most important truths to understand is that spiritual amnesia was intentional. You did not arrive with full memory of who you are or why you came, because that memory would have prevented the very learning your mission required. Forgetting was not a failure of transmission. It was a feature of the design. You came to learn the terrain of forgetting from the inside, to understand confusion, doubt, fear, and separation as lived experiences rather than abstract concepts. Only by moving through amnesia could you develop compassion that is grounded rather than theoretical. Only by navigating misalignment personally could you learn how to recognize it accurately in the world around you. Memory withheld created wisdom earned. This is why your early life may have felt directionless or fragmented. You may have questioned your purpose repeatedly, shifted paths often, or felt like you were always almost aligned but never fully settled. These were not mistakes. They were field studies. You were learning how systems function when disconnected from truth. You were learning how people behave when driven by fear, scarcity, or performance. You were learning what it feels like to be misunderstood, unseen, or misplaced, so that later you could hold space for others without judgment. A starseed who remembers too early becomes detached. A starseed who forgets completely never awakens. You were guided through the precise middle path. Past confusion was not wasted time. It trained discernment. Each misalignment sharpened your internal compass. Each wrong turn taught you what resonance does not feel like. Loneliness was not abandonment. It was insulation. It kept you from being absorbed into systems that would have diluted your frequency before you were strong enough to stabilize it. The periods when you felt most alone were often the periods when your internal architecture was being reinforced. Isolation was not the absence of connection. It was the prevention of contamination. You were being preserved until your system could hold its signal without distortion. Misalignment was also part of the curriculum. You may have stayed in situations longer than you should have, ignored intuition at times, or tried to live a life that looked acceptable but felt wrong. These experiences were not failures of awareness. They were calibration exercises. By experiencing the cost of misalignment directly, you developed an embodied understanding of why alignment matters. This is knowledge that cannot be taught through instruction alone. It must be lived. Now, when something feels off, your body responds immediately. That is not anxiety. That is a finely tuned guidance system built through contrast. Loneliness, confusion, sensitivity, and overwhelm were not signs that you were broken. They were signals that you were built for a role that requires depth rather than conformity. The world is structured to reward numbness, speed, and compliance. You were structured to reward coherence, awareness, and integrity. Until recently, that mismatch created pain. Now it creates purpose. The traits that once made life harder are the very traits that allow you to function as an anchor in unstable environments. You can sit with discomfort without fleeing. You can sense truth without needing consensus. You can remain present without being absorbed by chaos. Chosen one, nothing about your past was accidental. The feeling of being different was the earliest indicator of your design. Sensitivity was the signal of a refined system. Overwhelm was the result of overstimulation, not incapacity. Disconnection was preparation for sovereignty. Spiritual amnesia was the necessary veil that allowed wisdom to form organically. And every season of confusion, misalignment, and loneliness was a stage in your training, not a deviation from your path. You were never behind. You were being built correctly. Now, as awareness returns and coherence stabilizes, the design that once felt like a liability reveals itself as an asset. You were not meant to fit into the old world. You were meant to help stabilize the transition into what comes next. And everything you endured was precisely what made that possible. Chosen one, awakening does not unfold the way most people expect it to. It is not a straight path, not a checklist, not a ladder you climb one rung at a time. Awakening is non-linear remembrance. It is not about becoming something new, but about recalling something ancient that was deliberately placed beneath layers of forgetting. This is why your growth has felt uneven, cyclical, and at times confusing. You moved forward, then backward, then sideways, only to realize later that nothing was lost. Each return brought more depth, more clarity, more embodiment. Awakening does not ask you to improve yourself step by step. It asks you to remember who you are in waves, each one restoring another layer of coherence. The first wave often arrives quietly and disruptively at the same time. It appears as an intolerance for low-frequency environments. Places you once tolerated suddenly feel unbearable. Conversations drain you. Noise feels invasive. Drama feels heavy rather than entertaining. You may try to rationalize this shift, telling yourself you are becoming antisocial or difficult, but that is not what is happening. Your system is recalibrating. As your frequency increases, environments that operate on fear, competition, dishonesty, or emotional chaos become incompatible. This intolerance is not judgment. It is physics. A refined system cannot function efficiently in distorted conditions. You are not rejecting people. You are responding to misalignment. This phase often creates tension because your outer life may not yet match your inner frequency. You may still be working in places, maintaining relationships, or participating in systems that no longer resonate. The discomfort is the signal. It is not asking you to explode your life overnight. It is asking you to listen. Your nervous system is becoming your compass. When something feels heavy, draining, or chaotic without clear reason, it is often because your presence is no longer meant to be absorbed by that environment. You are learning discernment through sensation rather than logic. As this intolerance sharpens, the second wave emerges: cosmic homesickness and dimensional bridging. This is one of the most misunderstood stages of awakening. You may feel a longing that has no clear object, a sense of missing a place you cannot name. A quiet grief paired with awe when you look at the sky, the stars, or vast natural spaces. This is not escapism. It is remembrance stirring beneath consciousness. Part of you recognizes that you did not originate solely from this density. Yet this homesickness does not mean you are meant to leave. It means you are meant to bridge. Dimensional bridging is the ability to hold higher coherence while fully inhabiting a human life. You begin to sense that your role is not to transcend the world, but to translate something into it. This creates inner tension. One part of you longs for simplicity, unity, and truth. Another part of you must navigate complexity, fragmentation, and contradiction. Awakening does not resolve this tension by choosing one side. It teaches you how to hold both. The homesickness does not disappear. It matures into purpose. As this internal alignment strengthens, the third wave begins to show itself through synchronicity. Repeating numbers appear at pivotal moments. Not constantly, not obsessively, but precisely. Dreams become vivid, symbolic, sometimes instructional without words. You may wake up feeling as though something important happened, even if you cannot explain it. Conversations echo thoughts you had privately. Information arrives exactly when needed without searching. These are not signs to chase or interpret compulsively. They are feedback loops. They indicate that your internal and external worlds are beginning to communicate coherently. At this stage, it is easy to become distracted by symbolism. Many do. They try to decode every number, analyze every dream, search for meaning in every coincidence. But synchronicity is not the message. It is the confirmation that alignment is occurring. When you are coherent internally, reality responds with coherence. The purpose of these signs is not to impress you. It is to orient you. They remind you that you are no longer moving randomly. Your steps are being met.